Welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers, your favorite digital and social evangelist podcast, with your industry veteran hosts, Michael Sandoval and Chris Tetzel. This podcast starts now. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Sandoval.
And I'm Chris Tetzel.
Hello, Chris. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, man, I'm doing really well. How about you?
Oh, excellent. I'm doing pretty good. It's late in the day, and I am not enjoying a nice, cool adult beverage as you are. You truly are having a beer.
Yes, I was hoping that you would have a beer, but I figured you wouldn't, even though you knew you were coming to Peers Over Beers. Yeah. Well, nobody has to know that. I mean, you're at home.
Exactly. No, and you're definitely in a different time zone, so it's all right.
Yeah, for me it's fine. So I'm drinking it's called Two Hearted Ale. I guess it's an American IPA. It probably tells me somewhere where it's made, but it's a Bell's company or something. So I don't know.
Bell's, yeah. Oh my gosh, someone's gonna kill me that I don't know this, but I want to say Bell's is like Michigan or something like that. I don't know why that comes to my head.
Michigan.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
I'll have to Google that later.
Yeah, exactly. Now I feel like I have to do it in real time. Anyway, but oh my gosh, Kalamazoo.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is in Michigan.
Yeah. All right. So we were just about ready to talk about something very interesting that happened to you whilst you were, I think, having an all hands meeting about community at Realtio, right?
Yeah, that's right. You said it right. That's awesome.
Really? Oh, see, I just corrected what I thought I said it right. So,
yeah. So that's so funny. So we had an all hands meeting, meaning just the whole company meeting Monday through Thursday for 4 to 5 hours every single day to kind of go over the product roadmap to the vision and everything else. And on Monday, so today's Friday, but on Monday, I had the opportunity to present for an hour to the entire company. I think 200 or 300 people were on there. I don't remember, but about community. And it's funny because I knew it always happens is that there's tons of questions at the end. I mean, a lot of questions.
Yeah, everybody's quiet
Always.
until somebody says, until something breaks.
Well, what I did was, it's crazy because people want to know all about community. They kind of get it, but they want to understand who's moderating what, who's going to help, who's going to do this, what does this even mean, what's the strategy? I mean, there's all kinds of great questions, from people within the organization. At the end of the day, it's about me trying to get them to help me build it, and so that's really the message is so basically I had an hour and I only spent 30 minutes or less on content, just, hey, this is the vision of the company. This is community. This is how community relates to the vision and goes well with the vision of the company. And then here's, talk a little bit about, the goal of community, what we're trying to accomplish, and and then I had a slide actually of 9 questions from people before so I already had only 9 questions from the audience, or not even the audience, but beforehand. So beforehand, there was an email that went out.
Okay. Oh, I was going to ask how you did. Okay.
Yeah, an email went out and said, hey, these are the sessions. And they made people ask a question around community. So what are some of your questions? I got several of them, but I only put 9 of the, I don't know, 20 or 30 questions that were asked. But so what I did was, so there's 30 minutes left or more, and I answered every one of those questions. And then there was tons more in the chat because then I had I think I answered those in 10 or 12 minutes, but then there was question after question after question after question after question. And I was like, oh my God, I was so tired afterwards.
Really?
But it was awesome. It was like, people loved it, and so what I thought we would do.
What do you think they loved about it?
Well, they're excited because their customers and their partners for Reltio have been asking for community for a long time.
Okay. Okay. That's what I was curious about the
one. And then 2 is, they're excited that they have somebody full time to actually do this.
Oh, that's great.
And 3 is they're excited that I know how to do it.
Yeah.
I think I do, anyways. No, I do, but
Yeah, no, you definitely have some experience under your belt.
yeah, yeah. And so I think there's just excitement, and I feel like that's one of my strengths is getting people pumped and excited and actually
Mm.
doing some stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Uh,
definitely your wheelhouse.
and so that's that. I mean, so I thought today we would just bring up those questions. Maybe I give you five, and depending on how long this goes, and you give me five. I know you're looking at some now, and maybe I'll relate it to the bank if all possible, and you can relate it to B2B. I mean, I sent you the questions beforehand, and I related it
Yeah.
all to B2B SaaS. So but I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think it's good. I like it. Oh, maybe
Okay,
we can even do just one question, and I can have my view, and you can have your view.
I like it. Let's try it that
Yeah.
way.
Um. In fact, do you have it up?
I do. Yeah.
The questions, that is. Do you want to read the first one?
Yeah, so let's go with the first one, and I'll have you answer this question, and then maybe I'll answer it. So, in a branded community, who are the experts that contribute, or should they purely rely on everybody to contribute their fair share of content or answers to questions?
Yeah. So this is interesting. I think we almost had a discussion about this. So I'll tell you my take,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, and then I'm curious to see how you answer
Hmm.
it. So
Yeah.
this is where I go into my discussion about what it takes to start a community and how content gets developed, the time it takes for us to go up front and have to develop that, and then we'll get people to come attract, and then eventually over time, you'll see the inflection point of contributions outside versus contributions inside, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of goes. So my front would be, hey, at the beginning of this, yes, we are going to be the experts. We're the one that's going to be providing all that upfront content. There will be an effort that allow us to do this, but the value that it'll pay for us long term is a vibrant community in which you'll have increased loyalty, increased customer satisfaction, self-service help, rabid fans that are going to be answering our probably questions faster than we can, right? And that's a value that can be monetized, not monetized, but you can actually quantify this in savings to the company.
No, it's a good answer. And the way I kind of described it was, um, I will need your help, and the reason I'll need your help is because it's kind of like this. Is Reltio will have to push content out, answer questions when customers and partners come to ask a question. They expect an answer, and they expect one somewhat quickly.
Hmm.
Nobody wants to go to a party that no one's at. It's the same thing. If people post a question, customers and partners post a question, then and there's no answer, that's a problem. They want to leave and they won't come back. Now, in the beginning, I have my hands up, and so by the way, we have a YouTube channel, Michael. You probably don't even know it, but it's called Peers Over Beers YouTube. But I put my hands up.
It's funny and it hurts all at the same time.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a little jab. It's not really a jab. It's just like Michael does it.
Oh,
He's like, "Oh, okay, cool."
it's a good one. Yeah, it's a good one.
The way I kind of look at it is, you know, Reltio will have to push content out at first. We'll have to answer questions that customers come, when they come and ask, and at first, what it does is, customers and partners don't trust at first. It takes time. They want to make sure that they're getting answers. They want to make sure that this is trusting. They want to make sure that they can rely on this thing. And over time, what happens is Reltio will do less of the answering of the questions, and uh, uh, customers and partners will come and then start answering those things as they trust, as they're recognized, as maybe they're rewarded at some with badges and things like that.
Hmm.
So I think so the answer is yes. We'll have to do all of our fair share, but mostly Reltio will have to answer those questions in the beginning, and then customers and partners will then trust. It's kind of how I would answer that.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question because it said the word. I think at the first part of the sentence it says, "Who are the experts to contribute?"
Yeah.
In your past view, or in your past recent company you just left, and now, did you have a badge that would note these as employees or experts in some way?
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I did. It would say employees. So in the beginning, what I did was I created these expert badges that said specifically what they were experts in.
Mm.
But it didn't really work out. Didn't really help. But what did help was it did say employee or Impervian or something like that.
Mm.
We'll have employee badges, so that will help do that. And then I was thinking about partner badges for Reltio and to identify who the partners are
Hmm.
versus the customers versus something like that.
Yeah, I've always, well, my view about that, right? Identifying population segments helps one either gauge the response in its trust, if that makes sense. So if I see an employee time in and I see it's part of their, we'll call it badge, that they're an expert in XYZ technology, then I'm probably going to have a higher value of that answer or the discussion point. But you know what? Your partners have the same value too, right? They have
Yep,
integration expertise, market expertise. So there's
that's
always
right.
some value in the.
Oh, it's huge, man. I've been talking to some of our partners like Deloitte and some others that Accenture I'll be talking to next week. To yeah, so let's. This is funny because you'll laugh at me. You remember that um, presentation that we did about uh, at Rexel around suppliers and kind of activate and be a partner and there's
Hmm.
kind of like
Oh
three
yeah, I remember that.
levels.
Very, yeah, good one.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I did. I stole that and I was like, that's
No, no, no. You leveraged and probably took a lot of the ideas, right?
yeah, it's the same thing. Look, there's no reason to recreate something that doesn't need to be recreated.
No, I
You
agree.
know,
It's your knowledge that came into it. It's the same. It's the same thesis. It's the same
mhm.
thought process. Why you want to
I
engage?
presented that today, Michael, is when I was talking to a partner, I said, hey, look, there's different ways you can engage. One is by creating an account, kind of look at what's being um, posted and feel free to kind of go in there and um, reply if you'd like or even ask a question because maybe you don't know everything because I remember at Imperva you did have partners asking questions and customers answering those partner questions and then partners answering customers and then employees answering partners and employees answering. It was crazy. It was awesome. But then there was like three levels for partners and I wanted to try to get I kind of presented that today and said, hey look, um, the last level is what I call partnership, and the way that works with us could be, and I wanted to see their response, and they seem to be interested, but is I can give you face to face or online training, where you have training with me directly to help you understand how to post a blog, how to post a question, whatever you need to do, and if you were to do that and you were to commit like once a month to post a blog or a how-to video, or if you do a webinar on going deep into the product and how to do
Mm.
certain things and having it live and bringing our customers and other partners in, we'll put a badge on your profile that says, you know, platinum partner. I don't know, whatever. I don't know what that is, but and they seem very interested. They're like, hey, we have 40 or 50 people that do these things at Deloitte. I was like, oh,
No, I mean
okay,
that. I mean, Deloitte should know that this is kind of a standard practice.
yeah,
Uh, uh, it it can be very valuable if done right, and it really does depend on the partner. I was going to mention that if so, Deloitte would be outside of this scope of what I'm going to say, but uh, we had when I was at TI Texas Instruments, we had all types of partners. We had very small,
yep,
like
yep,
a guy and his two engineers in the back, right, developing products that are third party products, very robust, sought after, but small companies
yep,
versus these huge companies, right? So in the small companies where they didn't have a marketing team, a department, or whatever, and they were so involved in their business model was really wrapped around the company, we would say, hey, would you like to moderate your own community in a way because they don't have the resources, but we do. And that was good for us because it allowed us to, you know, have their space on our space. We would, they would be a contributor, and it was a pretty good deal. I don't know if it's still there doing that anymore, but it was pretty good little. venture for a while.
So they'd have their own space and
Yeah,
they'd
so there
invite.
was a couple ways we would engage. We would first, I think in the way we did that PowerPoint presentation, one was like there's ways to engage.
Yep, that's
One
right.
of the ones that we didn't do, which was I can create a separate community just on your company. And that community you would manage, moderate it, whatever you want to do.
Love it.
And it would allow you to be an expert of your product on our space. And of course, we would share content. It would be able to tag each other. Hey, this has been discussed, but it's on the so and so side or so and so side of the community, whatever that may be. And it would allow them to have a space. And so there's a win win, right? One is for them, this is a overhead that they don't have to
Yeah.
cost out, right? They just need people, and that's what you need is content. Then they get the benefit of the SEO too because you have a two link
Keep it
validation. And
open.
then for us, so from a company's perspective, it's just more content leading to the site and more help,
This
for
is
this
probably
kind
the
of
best
value, right?
podcast I've ever heard so far.
I should totally subscribe.
Yeah, I'm subscribing to this one because
This is awesome. Well,
I
okay.
like that idea of having potentially partners or even customers or uh, to be able to have their own community
Mm,
through me. So the cool thing about that is like I use Higher Logic as a platform, right? So the cool thing is I also have what they call different sites. So I have 25 different sites that I could. So I have a Higher Logic community.reltio.com, but I have microsites that I can build and make the look and feel different and everything else. And so if I wanted to create a, I don't know, a banking community site, like community dot whatever your bank is, TFTU or whatever it is
mm,
.com, I could have it, and you can manage your community there.
yep,
Uh, it could still be all things master data management. Anyways, the point is there's opportunity there, right? To really think about how we might do stuff like that.
yep.
So,
You would create essentially a group or whatever. You can customize a group. I forget what the parlance is, probably in higher logic, but yeah, you can create micro communities.
well, there's two different ways to do it, probably more, but one is on the main community of community.reltio.com, you can create multiple mini communities, private, public, whatever. But you can also create a microsite that looks and feels differently, that's a different URL and everything else. It's exactly what we did at Rexel but they didn't have the microsites for free for Telligent, right? So we just Jeff had to do some crazy weird things to
Yeah.
do like a, you
Jeff was a
know,
developer of ours. Yeah. A friend of ours. Yeah.
yeah. So Rexel dot or community dot I don't know, Rexel USA or whatever the fuck it was,
Yeah.
but and then the DE site and the whatever. But this just comes with it. You can make it look different. Anyways, all right. So I think I really like that. That was a great conversation around that. Let's do one more
Yeah. Yeah.
since
Absolutely. Yeah.
we're 20 minutes
I'll,
into
I'll,
this.
I'll read this one. So it says, what is the plan to open up community for customers currently in implementation to see progress and status updates? Chris, take it away.
Yeah. So what that means, so the question didn't make complete sense, but what they mean is, so for customers that has our product that's in the stages of implementation, what is the role of community? Basically, can they join? Can they not join? My answer to that is
Ah, okay. Got it.
so.
Okay.
So the answer to that was pretty easy because we have an open community and anybody can join, right? So um, partners, potential customers, and customers can join, or potential partners can join the community and employees.
Mm,
Um, and so now there'll be some moderation and things like that, but they can join before and take advantage of starting to connect to peers. I don't care where they are within the life cycle of engagement with Reltio. I just will allow them to come in and either surf or start adding content if they'd like, and they can start engaging right away. that was the answer to that. That's pretty easy.
Well, it's a very interesting question because in my head, my brain started to do all sorts of things. You mentioned it, which was customer lifecycle. If there was a way to match your customers' needs based on their life cycle, the community could be pretty powerful. For example, um, if if you're in this implementation stage, the questions you're going to ask are going to be different. So
Hmm.
maybe as part of your profile build or something, uh, you can tell the stage that you're in. I'm in implementation, and then it'll surface different types of discussions, like how do you do a rollout plan? What's your communication plan? How do you
Yeah.
what are the top 10 things IT needs to know about this? What's your um uh yeah, migration. I think I said migration plan, but so that's different from say run and maintenance, long
Yeah.
term, which will be different things, uh versus like upgrades, like if you're
Mhm.
moving up a version.
Yeah. If you're upgrading the version and things like that.
It would be interesting to see these phases in some of your customers. Then you can help customize it. Even on the pre-sale, it could be a sales tool
Yep.
as part of somebody going out there. We have one of the most vibrant communities out there. Gets your customers. You can actually join now and participate in the I don't know. We'll call it the Realtio um, users group, so you can see the conversations that are going on. That kind of fun.
Yeah. Uh, this is great, man. This is, like I said, one of the best podcasts we've done so far.
Everybody do. Again,
We've only got to two questions, so
I know. Well, kind of, we did when I was at TI, we did something again, some kind of similar, where we would use your design in cycle. Design in cycle is how an engineer evaluates, first searches for, evaluates, designs you in. That's a big thing because it means they put your chip in a design that they're doing, and then
yeah.
production. And each of those has different needs. So when you were in the oh, and one more piece was software was becoming a big deal. So software was a big piece. So when customers were evaluating our devices, the software engineers were in the software forums listening and reading and understanding because that was part of their evaluation process. So in other words,
Mhm.
yes, it's robust. The questions are pretty well answered. There was a good warm feeling that that they had some resources and experts as part of it, so they knew if they chose, they would feel comfortable in doing those things. So the software community became part of the design in cycle of a chip because the software was such a big deal. And depended upon the role you played, if you were a hardware engineer or a software engineer, allowed you to have different slices of the community.
Hmm.
So it was interesting. So in other words, it was personalized in some way.
Yeah, the personalization is very interesting. I like that,
Yeah.
and there's opportunity to do that. Is because you could put on kind of the registration process of where are you in the life cycle of your engagement with Reltio, and then maybe have a drop down that says 1, 2, 3. I don't know, whatever it is, but
Oh, I
um,
mean, if you depending on how you design it, your single sign-on should be able to do it, right? So it could take some data from your CRM and say, whether your existing client, whether you have if there's some stage, maybe you're like, we used to call them, we had this thing where, we all striate our customers, right? Small
yeah.
to big. And we would call them Hicks, Bix, and Six. So they're all important customers, but some are very important customers, and some are
Depending on spend,
yeah, and some are small important customers. But at the end of the day, they're all important customers, right? So
right?
we would kind of use that striation to help how we want to. And it sounds bad, but it's about division of resources, right? So if you didn't buy into say the software support or didn't buy into some of these kind of higher end software support or support modules that would come into the community,
Yeah.
and community would now be your primary way of doing self support, right? So it helped so and what we would do is, okay, we have to surface more information. They don't have somebody to talk to. Let's get them more involved. They became important to us. Does that make sense on the community side? Because it allows, at least they can get their help through the community side. There's a bunch of stuff you can do just by pulling in some information.
That's good. We have time. Let's do one more question,
All
Michael,
right,
because
let's see
I
here.
know we're 25 minutes, but it's okay.
Oh, but I think the next one is going to be a big one. It says,
Yeah, I
how
know,
can
but
we, oh, wait, oh, yeah, how can we help drive engagement in the community?
it's a big one. Maybe we should do that on
Okay,
another
I'll do that on the next one.
podcast.
Maybe there's another one. Hold on. Let me see. How do customers? Ah, well, we could probably do this one. How does the brand gain brand awareness with communities?
I like that
It's
one.
kind of a short. It could be a short answer or a long answer.
I'm going to let you answer that. I'm very curious to know. I've got my thoughts, but you
Well,
do first.
yeah. So I have very good data about how a community can actually increase one's brand value
Mhm.
and brand awareness. Right. So on the brand awareness side, I'll cover that first. It's about reach. And there are many moments in which a customer can be looking for your product at various moments in their cycle. It could be in the pre sale, sale, or even on the post sale process. In any way, the first thing you do when you have a question, you're going to go to Google
Yep.
and you're going to just put it in. So, as Google calls it, ZMOT, which is the zero moment of truth. That is your moment of truth in which you get to be the one with the answer. Now, I've said this phrase before, right? He or she who answers first wins. And
Mm.
your ability to climb at the very top and be that person to help is the beginning of that trust cycle. And if you click on it and you're the one with the answer, realty, it's like, wow, this company constantly comes up and they're answering my question. And if you're on the pre-sale side, even on the backside, that loyalty curve to kind of come back in, they're always answering my questions. They're always knowledgeful. Their employees are experts. They have a good handle of the content. They are definitely quick to answer. That all creates goodness. That's a very goodness thing, and that only increases one's brand value. I'm sorry, brand value. The awareness side is on the Google side. I have data that shows that a a a, a community that is well run, very well received. There's ways to measure those high NPS scores. Actually increases the value of the community, as that's a valuable dollar figure. You can put a dollar figure around that. A study that I did when I was over at Freescale, we did something like that. So no, I can tell you that it does increase brand value and awareness.
Yeah, somewhat similar. Now, I don't give such an elegant response, but my response to that is that you know, today, whenever if we kind of look at Reltio, when I've said this a lot, and maybe I said this at the beginning, but when customers, partners, whoever, searches for you on Google, for example, because 92% of people look at Google for answers unless you're in China, and they don't find, I think they have something else, but and they look for your product or have something around master data management or your area and we don't come up, guess what? We lose. We should have the answer to every single product question that customers, or at least something close to that question, and should have an answer to it when they search digitally,
Mhm.
because 92% of people search on Google. Not they don't. The last thing they want to do is create a case. The last thing they want to do is, the point is it comes up master data management, or whatever that topic is that a company focuses in on. Community talks about that thing a lot, and so we should be on the first page of Google every single time when, especially if we have a customer has a question about our product, and if we don't, we lose, and if we do, then we don't win. It's just expected, and just to kind of go into what you said is over time there's that trust factor. It's kind of what I mentioned earlier is, you know, when customers don't just engage right off, they don't do a bunch of things. I mean, it takes time to really build a community, but once that's humming along, and when they do that search and they're looking, every time you have that answer, every time you come up, it's like, wow, Reltio is like always coming up on master data management, anything, and so they're going to go into your community. They might even join. They might even, kind of look around, and eventually maybe they'll, contribute, and so I agree.
Yeah, and so I know we're kind of cutting
It's
long
okay.
on this one, but this brings up the whole idea of share of voice,
Mm,
SOV, right? Share of voice. So within your market space, um, you can physically measure this on Google, where you can take your competitors and yourself and show how much either the search of your percentage of searches on any particular amount of words or even your brand and see how much of that comes to you. And that's your share of voice, right?
mm,
And and the only way you can increase your share of voice, by the way, share of voice is pretty much market space, which is what you just mentioned, which is if I'm bringing an MDM and your competitor is always 75% of the voice, 75% of the time, your competitor is going to be the one who's going to get that click.
yeah.
So
Mm,
our ability to drive that share of voice higher, which is the equivalent of what our mentor used to say, shelf space in the old school walking in. You want to be eye level shelf space.
mm,
And there's two ways to do it. One is to drive to first page, one, two, or three, and then
yep.
to have a catalog, which is your share of voice. In other words, it's with the percentage of the number of searches that are being done that you fall into should be high. So those are kind of that's a brand awareness tactic. That's great stuff.
Yeah, that is good, man.
Yeah.
That was really good. I really like this episode, Michael. We
we
have
should,
literally like, 50 more, or I say 50, 15 more questions we could ask. So
yeah, we have there's a few podcasts in these questions. That's awesome.
why not?
Well, with that, how about we just end this one and we'll carry on to the next one. And thank you very much, Chris, for another great podcast. This is one of your hosts, Michael Sandoval.
And I'm Chris Detzel.
All right, thanks, Chris. Talk to you later.
All right.